Alright, I'm going to try something really small here. So I've got 9 grams basically of gold filled. And then a little tiny ring. Oops. Look at that. Not quite a half a gram. So first I'm going to get the base metals out of the gold filled. Then I'm just going to put it all directly into aqua regia. Such a small amount. But we'll see if we get a measurable amount of gold out of this. All right, there's our gold filled shells. There's everything I poured off. Actually, I can't even filter it. I will. But for now, I'm just going to see what we end up here with. So just throwing the ring in. It's less than a half a gram of 14 karat. I'm going to water and aqua regia, and just dissolve all this and see what happens when I drop it. I burned it. Completely forgot about it. So I started this on a Friday evening, and it's Friday, so I forgot about it. It's now Saturday, obviously. Okay, that should be enough water to cool off that beaker, so it's not gonna crack on me. I'm gonna just basically rehydrate this, throw a stir bar in it, make sure we get everything mixed up on heat. Then I'll drop it and see what we end up with. So someone who actually views the channel, I had reached out to him about a necklace that was on Marketplace, and it's something he's trying to sell as jewelry. Completely understandable. I think he had it listed at Melt, but he did have some scrap he was willing to sell. So we have a 14 karat. Oops. Yeah, it's all separate. Oh, sorry about that. 14 karat ring, 14 karat necklace here. So 7.87 grams of 14 karat. And this was like 1.3 something, 1.31. There's some very small stones in that. And a very, very small stone in this ring. These aren't the kind of stones that you know, are really delicate with and try to save. There's really not much value or any value to them. If you know anyone that wants to buy stones, I have. These are all diamonds. I don't know if you can see them all. Let's see. Just having diamonds in a glass dish probably isn't the smartest, but these are some of the larger ones I've saved over time. But I've listed all these on Marketplace, all the stones, everything, $100. Nobody even messaged me. So I was like, I'll just keep building them up and put them in my safe eventually, and maybe they'll be worth something someday. Anyhow, I will get this quarted, and we'll get it thrown in some water and nitric acid, get all the base metals out of it. And I might do an experiment before that, just to show you guys why we quart it. I'm going to throw all this gold just straight into the nitric acid, and it's not going to do anything. Okay, here's our jewelry. It's just distilled water that it's in right now. Right there. And I'm going to put, just get this all measured on the camera, 6 milliliters, just straight nitric acid in here. I will put it on heat. And you get a little saucepan for this new burner. Turn it up. Throw a cover on it. I'll let it boil for a while, and nothing's going to happen. And that's why we quart it. But just prove it to you. And here is the silver that I am going to use to quart it. It's only been a few minutes, but yeah, I'll let that sit for a half hour. I'm going to go upstairs, make some coffee. Drink some coffee. Yeah, I'll come back. It'll be clean. That's the only thing that's going to happen is that jewelry is going to look cleaner. That'll be the nice thing. So we'll go from there. All right, that's been sitting there at least 30 minutes now.
can see it's heated up enough where it's boiled and we have condensation building. Oops. You can see steam coming off of it. And let me set the camera up. I'm going to pour that off so you can see the gold is fine. Okay, let me find another beaker I can put all this into. What I'm pouring off, I'm just going to reuse to get all the base metals out of here. I'm looking for some fresh distilled water. I have to uncork this, and I don't want to burn in nitric acid and breathe it all in. All right, I'm gonna flip this around real quick. Oh, my dog grabbed a doorstop for me to throw for him. Okay, so there is our gold. Marshall, you gotta get back, buddy. I'll throw it for you. Hold on, just wait. Get out there. All right. So, probably not much of a difference, but I would say that ring actually looks better. It cleaned it up. But obviously there's no damage to it at all. Yeah, I would 100% say that looks better than it did. It could use a polish if you actually wanted to wear it as jewelry. That's 14. That was 14 karat, the ring. This little pendant is 10 karat. So yeah, nitric acid will not touch gold until it's below 6 carats. And that's why we mix it with silver. So I'm gonna mix it with that silver right there and use the same fluid so we can get the exact measurements on how much is in there. Oh, sorry, turning it sideways. Hey, Marshall, get back, buddy, please. Ooh, just over 100 milliliters in there. Just a smidge. So let me get this melted and stirred together, and we'll put it in that same beaker. Use that nitric acid to get the base metals out. All right, there is our imported gold. I'll get that put on some heat and the cover on it here in just a moment. I was going to show also real quick here. So I know this is a disaster, but I don't know. Any guy with a garage, you kind of know you have your disaster, but you know where everything is and how everything works and all that good stuff. So anyway, I'll put the silver and the gold in the crucible, and I lean the carbon rod like this. Have the torch blowing on it. You have to get this nice and hot before you put it in there to stir. Otherwise, metal's going to stick to it. You're going to cool the metal immediately if you just pick this up off the table and put it in there. So you want at least the end of it very nice and hot before, and then literally it's just a molten, puddle, and you're just stirring it. Hit cross hatch it, stir it backwards, and then over here to my filthy utility sink. I just have I switched this about a week ago because I kept using like milk jugs. But this is just a 1 gallon, but it's in a tall form. So that makes a big difference having it in a tall form because the metal has further to drop. So if you look at the bottom of it, you'll notice that nothing's burned to it yet. Yeah, but that's it as far as importation. The biggest tip I would say is just making sure that you get that carbon rod hot and make sure you stir it thoroughly. You want it as you're creating a new alloy that's sub 6 karat gold. So that's what you're shooting for. You can get really precise on the measurements and stuff if you want. I use that 0.8 for 10 karat, 1.2 for 14. I can't even remember what it is for 18 because I see it so rarely. But it's not a complicated process. So yeah, all right. Now we'll get this thrown on some heat. Let's see if we can get some color out of it. I did the math really quick. Here's, so we started with 7.87, 14 karat, 58.3%, 14 karat gold. So that should give us 4.5, can't read my own writing, 9 grams. We have 1.31 of 10 carats, 41.6%, should give us 0.5, hi Marshall, 0.54 grams. So that's our total maximum yield, but we already know there's some diamonds in there, and if you've seen my videos before, you know that 14 is probably more like 13.6, 13.8. 10 is probably more like, 9.6, 9.5. So we'll see. I didn't throw a guess on there, but I would bet, I'll write it down, 4.7 grams. If I see 4.8 or higher, I'll be thrilled. So anyhow, that's our basic math on this. All right, I'm gonna pull this mystery solution out, run it through the filter, see if I can get it to something recognizable here. Here's our imported gold in that 6 milliliters of nitric. It's still producing a little bit of fumes there, but I'm gonna speed up the process here. I'm gonna use some nitric that I poured off from the last video, last melt. If I can get that in the shot, there we go. So there was 10 milliliters of nitric in this that did not all get used up. So I'm just gonna add that in there. You see that we're still just a little over that 100th level. So I'll get this added in, speed up the process a little bit. All right, there we go. So what we're looking for, maximum yield of 5.1 grams. I have 16 milliliters of nitric, but some of it was used in that prior melt. So I don't know. I'm probably gonna end up needing more than this, but we'll let this boil and go from there. All right, I am on the second pass through the filter at this point, and it is ridiculously plugged. If you've noticed, one drop came out there when I first started talking. Oh, there we go. There's a second one. It is going so slow. I might actually suck the fluid out of this filter, get a new paper in there, and go again. It's just crazy. I mean, this is gonna take, you would have to go for hours. It's insane. But I'm trying to get to a recognizable, maybe even somewhat translucent. Then over here, I just added some more nitric acid, 10 more milliliters of nitric to this. Actually got that heat a little higher than it needs to be. I don't see fumes coming off of it, but I'll let it go for a little while longer before I pour it off, and then I'll put fresh water, fresh nitric in there and see how much more color we can get out of it before we dissolve it. This is just craziness. I've switched to my larger filter. This is my third paper now, third filter paper. Here's the first one that went through. That is just loaded. So this is why we, oh, sorry, that's not, here's the other one, still in the filter, in the funnel. That's just crazy. This is why we quart and do it completely different instead of just dissolving the gold in aqua regia. It's just quite a mess, taking forever. And I'm gonna swap this once this goes through, and hopefully the next time it'll be a little bit quicker moving, and then I can run it through several times. And hopefully, again, we'll get something translucent out of it. Boy, I cut this close. It did not dry out. Just about there, basically. And I'm looking at this. This sat overnight. You can see this silver chloride settlement on the bottom. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with this yet. I'm gonna start by pouring it off into a beaker. Go from there. Okay, it wasn't as bad as I thought. I just added SMB, and then here's the beaker that was sitting there, and you can see it's just a really thin layer at the bottom. So I poured off everything I could without getting any of that involved. And then this was that green color. I just added SMB to it. You can already see it's a balloon color. So let's see if we get any measurable amount of mud out of there. So I rehydrated this, and looks like we're golden. I'll use the word golden there. And then on the little smidge of gold I had, I put it on some heat, and it looks, hopefully you can see that. Looks like we've got a little bit of mud forming at the bottom there. And obviously it's still contaminated with copper or silver, both. Yeah, but there is some visible mud at the bottom of that. So I'm gonna start filtering this off. I will pour this off. I'm gonna do the two separately so that we get accurate weights. And then I'll melt everything into the bar that I had from the last video. All right, there's our filtered gold. It's not crystal clear yet. No problem, we're gonna be dropping it again. We have roughly 5 grams in here. I will let that settle out. Let me flip the camera around real quick. That is the mud from the gold filled in that little ring redissolving right now. I have this settling, and then I didn't really think about it. I poured that off when I dropped the gold filled mud. Normally I boil it off, but I poured it off so you can see there's a lot of silver chloride that formed. There was already some fluid in this beaker. Yeah, so let that settle. That's probably already dissolved, I would imagine, but I'm gonna let it go for a little while. It looks like there's still some fumes being produced there. So I will close this up, come back in about an hour, check on everything. All right, look, I think, I think we're at a spot here where I can pour this off, and I am refiltering the gold-filled batch. So I'm gonna pour this off into that beaker back there. Then I'll use this same beaker and fluid from that back there with SMB already in it to drop this gold. So I think this is gonna need to be dropped 3 times. Yeah, just kind of the experiment. And that's why we in quart. It's gonna take so much longer. I'm gonna have this 5 grams done far before this, and I started this a day and a half before this. All right, there's our roughly 5 grams of gold mud, and you'll notice it's got a very dark color to it. It's a little bit more brown in person, but it's very, very, very dark. So I'm gonna do a couple water rinses, a hydrochloric acid rinse, and then I will drop it again. All right, still chugging away here. This is our gold filled batch. Ran it through the filter 3 times. It's still not clearing up, obviously, so I'm going to drop it again. What I was saying earlier, so when I do a gold drop, I'll pour it into a beaker like this, and even when it looks crystal clear, there's still some dust that'll settle out if you just let it set for 2-3 days. So it's a very small amount, but obviously it adds up over time. Then I normally I'll boil the fluid off in this beaker, so let's leave it uncovered, put it on high heat in there, vent it outside. Don't have to dispose of the fluid that way. Anything that contains silver is going into a bucket or like one of these big old jars. You can see the bottom of these have silver chloride buildup in the bottom of them. That one has just a little bit. And eventually I'll come in here and harvest all that. And then our 5 grams, hopefully it shows up a little better. It's definitely a lighter shade of brown. Not the shade we're looking for yet though, so I'm gonna redissolve this now. and keep on chugging. Right, I think I have it all dissolved. Oh my God, I almost spilled it. It looks like there's a little bit of dust down in there, maybe. I'm gonna pour it off into a little 80 millimeter funnel here. And if there's anything remaining, all this, what goes through the funnel filter, let's put it back in this beaker and get that remaining amount dissolved. All right, this should be the last time through the filter for the 5 grams. And then here's the little cute amount of mud I got from the gold fill. Get that color. I'm not really going to give this a fair shake because I'm not confident in it. So looking at these, you probably think that's the better crucible. This is actually one I've done, I don't know, at least a half dozen melts in now. And nothing's frosted over on me yet. This one has frosted over on me. I'm going to melt it in this one because I think it would frost over and ultimately end that crucible's life, or demote it down to importation use only. So I'm going to melt it in this one. It's probably going to frost over, but we'll have a really good idea on the weight. So if I get a half a gram out of this, I'll be thrilled. Look at that. Got over half a gram. All right. So I made 20 bucks on that. I will say there was supposed to be a pocket watch also involved in this purchase, and it was taken off the table. I think they thought they could get more for it than what I was offering, but I imagine it's going to come back my way. Otherwise, yeah, I would not have made the drive for this. So, $20 profit on that. 5 grams going here. It's pretty much done filtering through. So I'll get this dropped, cleaned up, and melted. So I used a very scientific method with that half gram button, and I smashed it on the concrete with a hammer as flat as I could get it. So I'm going to redissolve that real quick. It can be added in here with the same melt, but yeah, this is in the process of dropping. Once this all drops and that redissolves and I get it filtered out, I will melt this separately first so we get a weight on it. And then I'm going to melt it all into one much larger pretty bar. We should have about 25, 26 grams, I think, in that bar once I get all this added to it. All right, there's our roughly 5 grams mud. Nice light brown color to it. Gosh, it doesn't show it great on camera. It's got a good light brown color. There you go. So I will get this dried and melted. We'll find out what our actual weight is. All right, second video in a row where I got a higher yield than I guessed. My guess was 4.7 grams. That was our maximum possible. Didn't account for any stones, any steel that was, like a spring and a clasp, anything like that. So, yeah, I guess 4.7. We have, closer to 4.9 than it is to 4.8. So, happy with that result. Again, I paid $590. And the reason it looks like this, I do this all the time. So you want to make sure when you're plucking it with tweezers out of the crucible, it doesn't cool too much, or it will get completely stuck. You can't get it out. You have to remelt it. So it wasn't quite cooled off enough when I grabbed it with tweezers. And I just squished it, basically. Or not basically, that's what I did. I squished it. Anyhow, so I've got that. Hey, Marshall. I've got this chunky little round. I guess it's up, up 26. And then I have the half gram still. And I'm going to try the ferrous sulfate on this to drop it. It's a small enough amount of gold that if I booger it up, I'm not too concerned. So once I have this all settled out and cleaned up, I will mix all this together. I'll make a pretty bar. I'm sorry, guys, I forgot to record this. So this was ferrous sulfate that I boiled, and I have a stir bar in here, and powder had settled out. And I thought I'd give it a try, pouring it in like this, and as soon as I did, I got an instant reaction, just like SMB. So that actually makes me feel a lot better, not having to dump the powder in there. That's what I was worried about. So my understanding is this is going to settle out just like I was using SMB, and then it's just a matter of just same process, just rinsing this, what is this even called again? Ferrous sulfate heptahydrate. Got this for you. There you go. So that's what I'm using right now to drop this gold. So I'll let this sit for a while and see the results. Oh. All right, we've got our half-gram re-refined here. Nice golden brown color to it. So I'm gonna add it with our 2 other chunks. Let me just grab this other one here. Blew my nose. Let's see. All right, there we go. So I'll get this powder dried out, add it in, melt it up, make a nice pretty bar. Just wanted to show you real quick, because you'll note instantly the impurities in the gold when you tip the heat off of it. It would frost over really quick. You can see it just has a nice all right, there's our final product. Nice mirror finish on it. There's a little chunk that's stuck in the pouring spout. I think I just poured too slowly, but that's okay. It's pretty. I'm not gonna remelt this one. So we should have 26 and change. Yep, 26.62 grams. And I'm not going to stamp this one just yet. It might get melted again. I like to get this to an ounce before I go ahead and sell it. So I will end the video there. Yeah, I think that's it. There's links to pretty much all the products I use in my description. And if you have any questions and you're just getting started, just let me know.